Algebra 2. So today we're going to talk a little bit about like completing the square. So this is what it's in the box. Determine a number that can go in the box. That'll help the polynomial factor. We'll make the polynomial factorable, then factor. All right, so I'm going to do the first one, and then I'm going to give you a moment to try the next one. So you're going to take b, because remember, in standard form, this is our standard form. You're going to take b, divide it by 2, and square it, and that's what's going to go in the box. So 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then 3 squared is 9. So 9 is going to go in this box. If we plus 3 squared. Okay? And I mean, you can do the whole big X, and you'll get 9 in the top, 6 in the bottom, and then what two numbers will make that happen? But you could also just take b divided by options. So go ahead and pause the video, and then go ahead and work them out for yourself, and then check your work. Alright, so on b, you've got 8 divided by 2 squared. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So this factored is going to be x plus 4 squared. Over here, I got 10 divided by 2 squared, which is going to give me 25. So we've got x plus 5 squared. 12 divided by 2, which is 6 squared. Okay? So today we'll be using completing the square to determine the extreme values and the zeros. So use the polynomial below to determine the extreme values and then solve. Use completing the square to find both of your answers, then sketch a graph of the quadratic. So, really quick, in order to find the extreme value, we have kind of a formula that'll help us. So, in order to find the extreme value, an extreme value, or extrema, is just a fancy word of max and min. Like, y'all know that mathematicians be trifling and, like, they're just trying to confuse you for no reason. They're throwing out words that you know, but no big deal. So, really quick. So, extreme value is a max or a min. Okay, so I'm going to use this, completing the square, in order to make this factorable and easy to sketch. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use that completing the square. So let me get this out of the way. Alright, so if I'm completing the square with this guy, remember, I'm going to move my c term to the other side, this right here. And I know we don't like completing the square, but we're gonna do it anyways today. And then we're going to take our b value, divide it by 2, square it, and add it to both sides. So negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 squared is positive 16. Okay? So now we're going to actually factor. So we're going to get, over here we'll have x minus 4, because remember, I can take my b term, divide by 2, and that'll give me this number. And over here, I'll get 3. So if I bring this to the other side, that is my extreme value. So watch what happens. I'm going to have x minus 4 squared minus 3 equals 0. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the sign of this first one and make it positive. And then I'm going to make this negative because this is h and k. So this is going to be over 4 down 3. Okay, so this is going to be my extreme value. This is going to be my minimum. It's going to be my min. Okay, so let's check that in our graphing calculator. So if we graph this, yeah, that's where my minimum is going to be. Okay, now you can use this in order to factor. I personally don't like to, but we can do it. So if we get it at this point, okay, what we can do, I'm going to erase this. And we had x minus 4 squared equals 3. If we solve this, then what we're going to do is we're going to take the square root of both sides. And so that's going to give me x minus 4 equals positive and negative square root of 3. I move 4 to the other side, so x is going to equal 4 plus or minus the square root of 3. Now, I don't know what that is off the top of my head, so I'm going to have to plug that into my calculator. So if I do 4 plus the square root of 3, it's roughly 5.73, which is like right in here. And then if I do 4 minus square root of 3, I get 2.26, which is like right in here. And it's going to be like, whoop. Yeah. Now remember, these are my zeros. And this is my min. Okay? And I used completing the square in order to help me determine those. Okay? Yeah. Alright? Now, here, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, use your graphing calculator, right? Like, use your graphing calculator. But let's say, for instance, you don't have it on the SAT or something. This is where you can use it. Determine the extreme values, solving the completing the square, factor to check your zeros, and then sketch a graph using the extreme values and zeros. Alright, so same concept. We're going to take x squared minus 4x plus 8 equals 13. I'm going to move c to the other side. But first I'm going to check, is this factorable? No. So I'm going to move this to the other side, and I'm going to get x squared minus 4x plus blank equals 5. I'm going to take my b, divide by 2, and square it and add it to both sides. So negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 squared is positive 4. Okay? So now I'm going to simplify and factor. So this will be x minus 2 squared equals 9. Remember, negative 9 is going to be my extreme value. It's going to be way off the graph. Negative 9, so it's going to be like way down here. Okay? And is that going to be a max or a min? It's going to be a min because this guy is positive. Okay? And then coordinates, type your answer. We already did this part. So this will be 2, negative 9, and zeros. So we're going to take what we got and solve. So we're going to take the square root of both sides. So this will be x minus 2, positive, negative 3. We're going to move 2 to the other side. So this will be x equals 3 plus 2 is 5. 3 minus 2 is 1. So x equals 5 and x equals 1. Okay. And again, I always like to check my stuff. I always check. So I go into my graphing calculator. And I get x squared minus 4x. And this would be negative 5 if I brought that over. And it's sometimes just a little bit easier to just to move this to the other side and then factor. It seems like I did something wrong, so I'm going to check my answers. This should be a negative 1 right here. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. This should be negative 1. Negative 3 plus 2 is going to be negative 1. That's why it looks a little weird. So we've got 1 at 5 and 1 at negative 1. And then it's going to be like, swoop. Okay? So this zeros would be 5 and negative 1. And factors are going to be, you could make this x minus 2, or I'm sorry, this would be x minus 5 times x plus 1. Okay? Go ahead and pause the video and try this next one, and then check your work. Alright, so on this one, I'm bring that 6 over, so that's going to be x squared minus 10x plus blank equals negative 21. I'm going to take b divided by 2 squared, add it to both sides. So negative 10 divided by 2 squared is going to be 25. So when I simplify this and factor it, I'm going to get x minus 5 squared equals 4. Okay, so my extreme value is going to be at 5, negative 4. And it is going to be a minimum, 5, negative 4. Okay, my zeros when I solve, I'm going to take the square root I'm going to get x minus 5 equals positive and negative 2. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. So x is going to equal 7. And x is going to equal 3. I'm going to go swoop. Voila. And if I wrote that in factored form, I'd be x minus 7, x minus 3. Alright, so hopefully that was pretty easy. If not, go ahead and start looking at the independent practice and start talking to your teacher. Completing a square is not the simplest, but if you can get those steps down, like b divided by 2, and then squaring it, adding it to both sides, that's the majority of the work. Alright, see you in the next video.